Think this is acceptable? You absolute incompetent moron. My order is wrong, and now I'm late because of your stupidity. I demand a refund, and I want $50 for my gas money. The screeching hit me before I even rounded the corner. My last paycheck from this godforsaken fast food joint was finally ready, and honestly, all I wanted was to grab it and run. I'd just started my new gig, and I was still straddling 2 jobs, so my nerves were already frayed. But as I peered into the main lobby, I immediately knew what, or rather, who was causing the ruckus. It was entitled Karen. And yes, entitled Karen is her legal name as far as I'm concerned. She was the queen of petty complaints and inflated self-importance at my old office job, and seeing her now practically vibrating with rage in the drive-through lane confirmed she hadn't mellowed out one bit. Of course she'd parked in the handicap spot, naturally, without a placard. Some things never change. Cashier Bob, bless his innocent heart, was clearly bearing the brunt of her tantrum. He's a sweet kid, maybe 20, always trying his best. He was doing his whole "I'm so sorry, ma'am, let me just check that for you" routine. But Karen was having none of it. She was leaning so far out her car window, I half expected her to fall face first onto the asphalt. $50 for gas? Are you joking? Bob's voice was starting to crack. Ma'am, I can remake your order or give you a refund for the item, but I can't just give you money for gas. That was the wrong thing to say. Karen's face contorted into something truly terrifying. Oh, so now you're calling me a liar? You think I'm just trying to scam you, you little punk? I know the owner. I'll have your job. I felt a familiar knot tighten in my stomach. I remembered those threats from the office. Karen lived for drama, thrived on making people miserable. But this wasn't my problem anymore, right? I was out. I just needed my check. Then Bob caught my eye. I must have been standing a little too close to the counter, still wearing my old work hoodie from my actual previous job. Not this fast food one. He looked desperate, practically pleading. Aubrey, can you help me out here? My gut reaction was to bolt. This wasn't my fight. But seeing the raw panic in his eyes, I couldn't just leave him to Karen's tender mercies. She was already flinging insults like rotten tomatoes, calling him everything from brain dead to a stain on society. I sighed and stepped forward, putting on my best customer service smile, a skill I thought I'd retired. Ma'am, is there something I can help you with? I tried to keep my voice even professional. Karen's head snapped to me, her eyes narrowing. She paused, clearly trying to place me, then a flicker of recognition crossed her face. You! What are you doing here? Are you working 2 jobs now? Pathetic? Ouch. She remembered me. And of course, she immediately went for the personal attack. The professional smile faltered. That's not relevant, ma'am. Let's focus on your order. Oh, it's very relevant. You always were useless at the office, always messing things up. And now you're working at a grease pit, surprise, surprise. Clearly you're just as incompetent as this cretin. She gestured wildly at Bob. My blood was starting to boil. Look, Karen, Bob is doing his best. We can get you a fresh order or a refund for the food. But the gas money is absolutely out of the question. The Karen slipped out before I could stop it, stripping away any pretense of professionalism. How dare you? She shrieked, actually slamming her hand on the drive-through ledge. You don't talk to me like that. I want the manager. I want the owner. Both of you are going to be fired. I'm going to call corporate. Just then, the back office door swung open and out stepped the owner, Mr. Henderson, looking harried. He'd probably heard the commotion from his office. What in the world is going on here? Karen immediately turned her theatrics up to 11. Mr. Henderson, thank goodness. Your employees, these 2 disrespectful, utterly useless individuals, have ruined my day. They got my order wrong. They refused to give me compensation, and this one, she pointed a venomous finger at me, had the nerve to call me by my first name and insult me. Mr. Henderson looked from Karen's furious face to Bob, who was practically shrinking behind the counter. Then to me, my own face, probably a mask of barely suppressed fury. Aubrey, is this true? I took a deep breath. Mr. Henderson, I was just picking up my final check. I stepped in to try and help Bob, who was being verbally abused for an issue with an order. She's demanding a refund for the food, which we offered, and $50 for gas money, which we obviously can't provide. She then started making personal attacks. Karen scoffed. Personal attacks? I merely stated facts. She is incompetent, and she glared at Bob, needs to apologize for ruining my lunch. Bob, who'd been silent, suddenly stiffened. He looked at Karen, then at me, then squared his shoulders. I will not apologize, ma'am. I tried my best to fix your order. I was respectful. You were not. A hush fell over the lobby. Even Karen seemed momentarily stunned by Bob's defiance. Mr. Henderson surprisingly didn't look angry. He looked tired. He studied Karen, then Bob, then me again. He took a slow, deliberate breath. Ma'am, he said, his voice quiet but firm, I've heard enough. My employees offered to correct your order or provide a refund for the food. Your demand for $50 is unreasonable. And your behavior, your language, and your personal insults are completely unacceptable. Karen spluttered, But. No buts, ma'am. My employees do not deserve to be treated this way. I'm going to refund your food, but I'm also going to ask you to leave, and do not return. You are no longer welcome at this establishment. The look on Karen's face was priceless. It was a cocktail of shock, outrage, and pure disbelief. She literally opened and closed her mouth a few times, trying to form words, but nothing came out. Finally, she just pointed a trembling finger at Mr. Henderson, then at Bob, then at me. You'll regret this, she shrieked, before stomping back to her car, slamming the door, and peeling out of the handicap spot with a furious screech of tires. Bob let out a shaky breath, a wide grin slowly spreading across his face. He banned her. Mr. Henderson just nodded, rubbing his temples. Sometimes you just gotta cut out the cancer, Bob. Aubrey, your check is ready. Thanks for stepping in. He gave me a grateful look. I walked away with my check, feeling a rush of adrenaline and a deep sense of satisfaction. Justice, swift and complete. Karen got exactly what she deserved. And Bob, he got to keep his job and his dignity. Sometimes you just gotta stand up for the good ones, even if you don't officially work there anymore. Bob and I ended up grabbing a celebratory burger later that week. Turns out, sometimes leaving a job means you get to pick your battles. And some battles are absolutely worth fighting for.
Hey, real quick before the next one, if you're enjoying this, subscribing helps a lot. All right, story number 3 coming up.
Get off her! The shout ripped through the artificial cheer of the dying toy store, and for a split second, the cacophony of crying kids and frantic holiday shoppers actually quieted. Every head swiveled towards me, Cameron, department manager, barely holding it together on my last damn day. I was staring down the nasty witch, a woman who, I swear to God, routinely left our teenage employees in tears, and right now she had a terrified kid backed into a display of glitter-encrusted unicorn horns. It was the early 90s, folks, and our major toy store was circling the drain. Liquidation sales meant a constant stream of customers who felt entitled to treat us like dirt, especially the kids on minimum wage. Me? I was so over it. Burned out, stressed to the max, I'd finally joined the military. My plan was simple: power through one last miserable holiday season, collect my final check, and enjoy Christmas with my family before shipping out. That was the dream anyway. But then there was her. This woman wasn't just demanding, she was a predator. She'd zero in on the youngest, most timid cashiers, berate them over non-existent discounts, or accuse them of shortchanging her, all while her voice escalated to a piercing shriek. I'd seen kids, barely old enough to drive, crumple into sobs in the back room after dealing with her. I'd tried everything: polite de-escalation, firm warnings, even trying to just ghost her out of the store. Nothing worked. And corporate? They were useless. Cameron, they'd told me, we can only trespass and ban her if she assaults someone. So I was stuck. My hands were tied, my patience was threadbare, and I just wanted to get out. My last shift arrived, a dreary rain-soaked Saturday, the store a zoo of last-minute panic buyers. I clocked in, determined to keep my head down and just make it to my relief. But, of course, things never go to plan. My store manager, bless her flaky heart, was nowhere to be found when my shift was supposed to end. So there I was, still stuck, minutes ticking into hours, the cheerful holiday music slowly morphing into a torture device. My temper, already frayed, began to snap. Finally, I saw her stride in, a good hour and a half late. I practically sprinted to the time clock, jammed my card in, and breathed a huge sigh of relief. Freedom. I headed for the exit, my future in the military, a beacon. And then I saw it. The nasty witch had cornered poor Mark, one of our newest hires, maybe 16, by the action figure aisle. His face was blotchy, his eyes wide and brimming with tears. She was leaning in close, her voice a low, venomous hiss, jabbing a finger inches from his face. It was the absolute last straw. I'd spent months watching her terrorize these kids, trapped by corporate rules, but I wasn't an employee anymore. I was a civilian, and she was attacking my kid. "Hey!" I yelled again, louder this time, the echo rattling the cheap plastic ornaments. "Leave him alone!" She spun, her eyes narrowing into slits, a snarl twisting her face. "What did you say to me? You little pipsqueak?" I said, "Leave the kids alone," I retorted, striding right up to her, my voice low and menacing. "You want to scream at someone, scream at me. But you touch another one of my employees, and I swear to God, you'll regret it." "Your employees," she shrieked, her face turning crimson. "You don't work here anymore. I saw you clock out." She lunged, a sudden surprising shove that knocked me back a step. Before I could even fully register it, her hand flew out again, this time a wild swing aimed at my face. I managed to get an arm up, blocking the worst of it, but her momentum was real. That was it. That was the assault. The one corporate said I needed. My military training kicked in. Adrenaline surged. I grabbed her arm, twisted, and in one fluid motion, I took her down. She landed with an ungraceful thud on the linoleum, a squawk of surprise escaping her. Within seconds, I had my knee on her back, her arm twisted behind her. "Someone call the police," I barked, loud enough for half the store to hear. "She just assaulted me." The cops arrived in minutes, lights flashing through the plate glass. They took statements, then went straight to the security office to view the video. It didn't take long. They saw everything, her cornering Mark, her shoves, her wild swing. When they came back out, an officer looked at her, then me. "Ma'am," he said to the witch, his voice flat, "you are formally trespassed from this property. If you ever step foot in this store again, you will be arrested." A slow, satisfied smirk spread across my face. I walked over to the nearest intercom, pushed the button, and my voice boomed through the store, crisp and clear. "Attention shoppers, this is Cameron. Just an announcement to let everyone know that the woman currently being escorted out by police has been formally trespassed and banned from this store for assault. She will no longer be bothering any of our employees or customers. Have a nice day." She screamed, "I'm calling corporate. You'll be fired," as the officers led her out the door. I just chuckled. "Too late, lady," I muttered to myself. I walked back to the security office, picked up my very last beautiful paycheck, and headed for the door. Truly free this time. As I passed the registers, every single one of the teenage employees, including a still-shaken Mark, were beaming at me. "You're the hero we needed, Cameron," one of them whispered. And you know what? Walking out of that place for the last time, that nasty woman's shriek still echoing in my ears, my arm a little bruised, but my head held high, I felt like I finally was. Sometimes, you just gotta give the nasties a taste of their own medicine. Stand up for yourself, folks. You might just make a few heroes along the way.
Okay, folks, pull up a chair, 'cause I've got a story for you that's gonna make your jaw drop. Seriously, I'm still shaking my head thinking about it. This isn't just an "I don't work here" story. It's a full-on wrongful abduction, interrogation, and then dismissal for a kid who just wanted some damn jeans. I'm Sarah, I'm 14, and honestly, all I wanted last Tuesday was a new pair of ripped jeans from a store I won't name, but you know the one? You walk in, it's loud music, too many sales racks, and usually no one bothers you. Perfect. So I'm wandering around, kinda lost, trying to find the teen section 'cause everything looks adult-sized in there, you know? I was probably looking a little confused, trying to find the right aisle. That's when it happened. Out of nowhere, this dude, maybe mid-30s, with a name tag I didn't even catch, materialized in front of me. His face was beet red, and he looked like he was about to explode. He slammed his hand down on a nearby rack, making me jump about a foot in the air. "There you are," he practically roared, leaning into my face. "Do you have any idea how long I've been looking for you, young lady? Get back here, now!" My heart went from 0 to 100 in a nanosecond. I froze, totally baffled. Excuse me?" I managed to squeak out, thinking he was talking to someone else. "Don't play dumb with me," he snapped, his voice getting louder, drawing a few stares from other shoppers. "You were supposed to be stocking the denim section 20 minutes ago. You think this is a game?" "Come on!" And he grabbed my arm, not gently, like a firm, unyielding grip, and started pulling me towards the back of the store. I dug my heels in. "Hey, let go of me. I don't work here. I'm just trying to find jeans." I tried to yank my arm away, but his grip was like a vice. He was practically dragging me past the fitting rooms, past the stockroom door marked employees only. I could feel my face burning, a mix of embarrassment and pure terror. This was not happening. "Oh, you work here all right, little missy," he growled, not slowing down. "You just think you can skip out on your responsibilities. We've been looking for you for ages. Now we're going to see the manager about this attitude." He hauled me through a narrow, messy hallway filled with cardboard boxes and overflowing racks of clothes, then shoved me unceremoniously through a door into a tiny, fluorescent-lit office. There was a woman, probably the manager, sitting behind a cluttered desk, looking equally stern. The dude practically threw me in front of her desk. "She thinks she doesn't work here, ma'am. Says she's just looking for jeans," he huffed, still holding my arm. The manager sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "Another one, John? Honestly, some of these new hires." "All right, young lady. What's your name?" She picked up a clipboard from her desk, covered in what looked like application forms. "And why exactly are you wandering off during your shift?" My breath hitched. This was insane. "My name is Sarah," I said, my voice shaky and small, "and I don't work here. I'm 14. I just walked in to buy a pair of jeans." I tried again to pull my arm free, tears welling in my eyes. This was genuinely terrifying. John scoffed. 14, huh? Good try. Look, ma'am, I've got her application right here. Says she's 16 and clearly applied for the evening stalker position. He actually started flipping through the papers on the clipboard. The manager finally looked up from her paperwork, really looked at me, and then back down at the application in John's hand. Her eyebrows furrowed. 16, he says, and it says the applicant's name is Sarah Johnson? John nodded smugly. Yep, and she's got that same kind of wavy brown hair, too. My stomach dropped. I'm Sarah Miller, I corrected, my voice barely a whisper, pointing at myself with my free hand. And I don't have an application here. I've never even applied for a job. The manager's eyes widened. She stared at me, then at the photo on the application, then back at me again. A slow flush began to creep up her neck. John, still holding my arm, seemed to finally notice the change in the atmosphere. He loosened his grip a fraction. Oh, the manager said, her voice suddenly much softer, almost a whisper. She took the clipboard from John. Oh dear, John, this isn't her. She pointed to the photo on the application, then back at me. This is not our Sarah Johnson. The color drained from John's face faster than a spilled drink. He finally let go of my arm like it was a hot potato, stumbling back a step. The manager then gave him a look that could curdle milk. My apologies, Sarah, she said to me, her voice now dripping with saccharine sweetness. There's obviously been a terrible misunderstanding. John here was mistaken. We're looking for a new hire with a similar name, and you just happen to resemble her from a distance. Resemble her from a distance? He practically accused me of grand larceny and dragged me into an interrogation room. I just stood there, dumbfounded, my arm throbbing, my eyes probably still wide with shock and the lingering threat of tears. "John, please escort Sarah back to the front of the store," the manager said, her voice now clipped and icy. "And make sure she finds exactly what she's looking for. On the house." John, looking like a whipped puppy, mumbled, "Yes, ma'am." He didn't grab me this time, just gestured weakly towards the door. I walked, stiff and numb, back through that messy hallway past the confused shoppers who probably heard the commotion. He didn't offer to help me find jeans, just pointed vaguely towards the main exit. "Sorry," he muttered, not even making eye contact. I just walked out, the sounds of the store fading behind me, the bright sunshine hitting my face. I was outside free, but I felt completely hollowed out. I'd been publicly accused, forcibly detained, and interrogated, all for the crime of existing in a store while looking for jeans. I wanted to call the police. I wanted to scream. I wanted my parents to march in there and absolutely tear those people apart. 'Cause my mom and dad, they'd unleash hell. They would have probably handed out literal karate chops. But then I imagined the headache, the drama, my own name getting dragged through it all, and I just couldn't. So I came here. Because seriously, y'all, what the actual hell? This wasn't just some entitled Karen expecting me to work. This was a manager and an employee who thought it was okay to physically grab a minor, accuse them, and drag them to an office for an interrogation based on absolutely nothing. It was awful, and I just needed to tell someone. So yeah, that's my story. And I'm definitely buying my next pair of jeans online.
This one fits right in with what you just saw.